There are over 1.5 million classified species of animals on Earth, each with its own set of unique traits. And in this video, we're going to explore some of the most fascinating ones, a few of which you likely didn't know. So let us know which ones in the comments, and let's start with a creature that has an amazing ability to regrow an unbelievably wide range of its own body parts with no scarring and relatively little time. A few creatures in the wild have similar regenerating abilities, but this specific one can regrow its limbs, heart, lungs, eyes, and even parts of its spinal cord and brain. In fact, its regenerative abilities are so amazing that scientists have managed to fuse the head of one to the body of another and merge them flawlessly. And the creature with regenerative abilities that rival that of the T-1000 is this little guy, the axolotl, a type of salamander found primarily in the lakes of Mexico. And its biological superpower is one scientists have been studying and trying to understand in order to replicate the ability in humans. At the heart of the axolotl's regeneration is a process called dedifferentiation. After an injury, its cells revert to a more primitive stem cell-like state. These despecialized cells form a mass called a blastema, which then regrows the lost tissue, including muscle and nerves. And remarkably, the axolotl doesn't just replace tissue, but can also regenerate bones and complex structures like part of its spinal cord. And if that didn't amaze you, then maybe this relatively unknown trait from the next animal on our list will. It's a creature most of us know and love that has a remarkable ability to recognize and remember different faces. Not only faces of its own kind, but of humans as well. It can even recognize and remember people it met just once, years later. And the creature in question, believe it or not, is the cow. Their impressive visual acuity, memory, and emotional intelligence allows them to form lasting social bonds, making them far more complex animals than many people realize. Yes, these seemingly simple, gentle giants of the farm actually possess a stunning level of cognitive ability. Studies have shown that cows can remember and recognize up to 100 different faces and can recall them for up to 2 years. In one study, cows were shown photos of human faces and then introduced to those people in real life, and the cows were able to remember and respond differently to individuals they had seen just in photos. And this ability also applies to other cows, helping them maintain social bonds within the herd. What's even more amazing is that cows are especially able to recognize those who care for them or have positive interactions with them, causing them to develop preferences for certain humans, showing signs of affection such as licking or approaching a familiar caretaker when they're present. And next, let's check out a less commonly known animal that has fins and gills, but also the unique ability to walk across land. Basically a walking fish that uses this trait to its advantage in a variety of ways. Unlike amphibious creatures such as frogs or mudskippers, this one's actually a type of shark called the appellate shark. But unlike every other species of shark on Earth, this one doesn't need water to thrive in the semi-aquatic environments where they're often found, typically in the shallow reefs and tidal flats of Australia. Their unique figure has allowed them to adapt incredibly to life in environments where the water levels change dramatically, using their pectoral fin as legs to not only crawl through coral reefs and across the ocean floor, but over land as well, making them the only species of shark with this amazing mobility. And what's even more incredible is how they're able to breathe while out of the water. Appellate sharks have evolved the ability to slow down their breathing, heart rate, and brain while stranded on land during the low tide, allowing them to survive on their last breath for up to an hour, which is just long enough for them to crawl back into the safety of water. And if a fish walking on land didn't surprise you, how about a land mammal that can hold its breath longer than a dolphin? While most mammals need to breathe fairly regularly, this one can hold its breath for up to 40 minutes. That's about twice as long as the average dolphin. So can you guess the animal in question here? Well, if you said the sloth, you'd be right, because that's the creature with this breathtaking ability, or rather, non-breathtaking. Sloths have an incredibly slow metabolism, which means their bodies consume energy at a much lower rate than most other mammals. This allows them to conserve oxygen and makes it possible for them to hold their breath for longer periods, which they'll do to stay still and quiet and avoid being detected by predators, or to stay submerged underwater to avoid them. Sloths slow their heart rate by about 1/3, which conserves energy and means they don't need to breathe as frequently. And this next creature has an even more amazing trait since despite its tiny size, it has an extraordinarily active brain. It's one of the most intelligent on the planet, and it's actually a bird. So do you know which bird has the mental capacity to qualify it as one of the smartest creatures on Earth? Well, it's the crow. And they're so intelligent they can actually craft and use tools to obtain food, something once thought to be unique to just humans and a few other mammals. But crows have been observed using sticks to poke insects out of tree bark or even shaping leaves into hooks to grab food from hard-to-reach places. Their tool use is an indication of their advanced cognitive functions, and that's just the start. These birds can even plan for the future and have shown signs that they understand the concept of cause and effect, something most animals struggle to grasp. In one experiment, crows were presented with a problem, where a piece of food is stuck in a box that can only be retrieved with a long stick. But they first must grab a short stick from a string to reach multiple rocks from within a cage, then use the combined weight of those rocks to trip a lever which releases a longer stick which they then use to grab the food. Experiments like this perfectly exemplify how they understand cause and effect, or how they're able to plan ahead to achieve a goal, and their cognitive abilities rival those of even the great apes. But this next animal is much larger and has its own amazing way of obtaining not food, but water. It can detect it from miles away and even find it when hidden underground. And the creature with this unique ability is the elephant. Elephants primarily rely on their acute sense of smell to locate fresh water sources, as theirs is one of the best in the animal kingdom. Their powerful trunks can smell water in places like rivers or moisture in the air from very far distances, and they can also pick up traces of dampness in the soil. On top of this, they're highly intelligent and have excellent spatial memory, allowing them to remember the locations of water sources already found across vast landscapes. This is especially critical in places like the African savanna, where water can be scarce during the dry season. Elephants are known to dig in dry riverbeds or sandy areas where water from natural springs might be trapped underground using their trunks and feet. They excavate natural wells in spots where they sense moisture to access it for a drink, and they teach this valuable skill to their offspring, passing the technique on from generation to generation. And if you thought that was incredible, wait until you see the amazingly unique trait of this next creature we're going to discuss. But first, if you've learned anything or been entertained by this video so far and could give it a like, it'd be greatly appreciated. Or if you could share it with someone else you think might like it, that would be greatly appreciated as well. But this next animal is one of the very few in existence where the male actually gives birth to their offspring instead of the female. And the creature that exhibits this biological reversal is the seahorse. In all seahorse species, the male has a specialized brood pouch on his belly. And during mating, the female deposits her eggs into the pouch, where the male fertilizes them internally. He then carries the developing embryos for a gestation period ranging from 9 to 45 days, and when he's finally ready, he goes through muscular contractions to expel the fully formed baby seahorses out and into the water. Only a tiny fraction of male creatures, approximately 0.003% out of the estimated millions of species on Earth, has this rare trait, making it quite a fascinating phenomenon. And another bizarre phenomenon of the wild occurs with our next creature, which is a member of the bird class and has the unique ability to fly backwards. Do you know which species of bird can do this? Here's a hint. It can also hover in midair. And if you guessed the hummingbird, then you're right. This incredible ability is thanks to its unique wing structure and its rapid wing beats. While most birds are limited to flying forward or gliding, this tiny marvel can move in any direction it desires, including sideways. It can effortlessly hover in front of flowers, feeding while completely stationary in the air. And it's able to do this since, unlike most birds, which have rigid wings that only move up and down, hummingbirds can rotate in a full 180-degree arc, allowing them to create lift on both the upstroke and downstroke of their wing beats, which provides them with this amazing level of control. In fact, they can beat their wings up to 80 times per second depending on the species, creating a unique figure-8 motion that generates constant lift. And in order to fuel all this energy, they consume more than their own body weight in nectar each day. But they aren't the only animal in nature with such a monstrous appetite, because this next one spends up to 12 hours a day eating but gets barely any nutritional value out of its meals. This is because its digestive system is built for a very different type of diet than the one it's chosen. And the creature we're talking about here is the panda bear, which keeps eating its favorite meal despite the lack of nutrients, but somehow survives just fine. The panda's eating habits are particularly bizarre because their stomachs are designed to process protein-rich foods like meat. But instead, they spend almost half the day devouring bamboo, a plant with very little nutritional value which its system can't break down efficiently, which leaves it with barely enough energy to do anything but continuously eat. Despite their mostly plant-based diet, pandas are technically carnivores and designed to digest meat. But over time, their diet shifted to bamboo, causing this mismatch between their food and digestive system, which makes them a fascinating outlier among bears. Only about 17 to 30% of the bamboo they eat actually gets digested, so a majority of their meal just goes to waste. But to make up for this inefficiency, pandas eat an insane amount, up to 40 pounds a day. They just spend all day sitting around, lazily stuffing their adorable faces, which is much different than this next creature, which is extremely active. In fact, they're one of the fastest animals on the planet, and they don't reach top speed by swimming, flying, or running, but rather by hopping. Can you guess which animal we're talking about here? Here's a hint. They can leap an astonishing 9 meters or 30 feet in a single bound with ease. And if you haven't guessed yet, we're talking about the kangaroo, which can cover vast distances using its strong hind legs, with each leap being an energy-efficient powerhouse of movement. Their jumping ability is so advanced that they can maintain speeds of around 64 kilometers or 40 miles per hour in short bursts, all without the need for running. And their powerful legs aren't the only thing that makes kangaroos such exceptional jumpers. Their tails act like a counterbalance when they're in the air, allowing them to control the direction and height of their jumps with precision. And what's even more interesting is that the faster kangaroos cruise along at their comfortable speed of about 20 miles per hour, the less energy they use, thanks to the tendons in their hind legs. As a kangaroo hops faster, the tendons stretch and store energy, which is then released during the next hop, reducing the need for extra muscle energy. But that's it for this list of amazing animal traits, so check out another video now or subscribe if you want to see more interesting things explained, and make sure to follow on Instagram at Everything Interesting Explained or on X at EI Explained. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time for more Everything Interesting Explained.